Please come in. Good afternoon. Welcome to Transformational Tuesday. Thank you for coming with us. I know you have your tea, you have your lunch. We're just ready to talk to this mighty, powerful Sheriff Harlow, in a few minutes. So please come in, take your seats, get comfortable for this Transformational Tuesday. As you know, my name is Tanzanika Carter. I am the Assistant Sheriff here in San Francisco, and I am delighted to bring Transformational Tuesdays to all of you. We are delighted, and we're just happy that we have Sheriff Harlow from Vermont coming to us today. Yes, New Orleans, not New Orleans, Orleans County, over there in the Vermont area. So this is great because she can tell us all about such a beautiful city. With that, let me start. Sheriff Jennifer Harlow was appointed by Governor Phil Scott for the Orleans County Sheriff. At the age of 18, she was sponsored by her hometown police department to participate and be sponsored and participate in the part-time police academy. Who knew that there was a part-time police academy? Sheriff Harlow was a part-time law enforcement officer for several towns and started to work primarily for the town of Montague in Turners Falls, Massachusetts. Sheriff Harlow worked patrol as well as dispatching, which gave her a better understanding of the totality of the job. Sheriff Harlow had the opportunity to graduate from the Agawam Police Academy in 1999, where she was the acting sergeant for a couple of years before she moved to Vermont. She worked prior to that at the Newport Police Department for approximately 16 years, where she worked patrol, then was assigned Special Investigations Unit as a detective for approximately 8 years, where she investigated the most heinous crimes against our most vulnerable population, which is our children. I know some of you may have seen SVU on TV, but she has been the person to really investigate those real crimes. These cases involve severe child abuse, sexual crimes, and internet crimes against children. Sheriff Harlow also investigated sex crimes reported by adults, aggravated domestic assaults, and elder abuse. She was promoted to sergeant, being the first female sergeant to serve at the Newport Police Department, and was in that leadership role until she was appointed in January 2020 by Governor Phil Scott to fill the vacant Orleans County Sheriff's position. What a great jump, Sheriff. You'll definitely have to talk to us about that. Sheriff Harlow is an instructor at the Vermont Police Department, instructing a 3-day block on sexual violence and child abuse to recruits, and she's a domestic violence instructor, a rape aggression defense instructor, and a Team 2 instructor, which involves mental health. Sheriff Harlow, as if she has a lot of time, but she also goes into local schools, presenting alongside some wonderful people for this organization called Savannah Williams, with umbrella on healthy relationships, as well as technology safety. Sheriff Harlow, she serves on various boards in her area, which she will talk about later. And with that, I just want to introduce to you all Sheriff Jennifer Harlow. So thank you, Sheriff Harlow, for being a part of Transformational Tuesday. Do you have anything you just want to say as we get started? Oh, she said no. Okay. Well, with that, I just want to say.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't unmute myself.
No problem.
I apologize. I was trying to send a quick chat. No, I'm just very honored to be here and I really appreciate you asking me. And so I'm very excited for today. Thank you.
No problem. I do want people to know, prior to us chatting for a little bit, Sheriff Harlow was able to give me some of her bio, just a dig deep inside of who she really is. And I'm really excited to talk a lot with her about family and all of the challenges that faces with having to choose at times between career and having a family. So I know you know a little bit about that, Sheriff Harlow. We'll touch on that later. But reading your bio, you were the first sheriff in Orleans County. You were the first patrol officer at Newport Police Department. Please tell us the challenges that you had to face by being the first patrol officer in that area, and then how you were the first sheriff. What challenges have you had to face in those two roles?
Well, throughout my entire career, there's been challenges, over and over, and unfortunately, I'm still facing them today, but, I think that that just makes me stronger. I have a lot of will, and when people do challenge me, I just want to be the best that I can, so it kind of just keeps that drive going for me to do better and be better for my community. It was, as far as Newport PD, it was a smaller PD, similar to the size of my department right now. And I was the only female officer in that department, except we had some female dispatchers. So really just trying to make sure that I was equipped, competent for that position. I was very lucky for the most part. I have a lot of the people that served under me had a lot of respect for me and just the career that I've done. So I had that going for me, but it's just still a constant challenge. When sorry, I'm laughing. I'm thinking back at some Zoom meetings or some meetings I attend with other counterparts that are male and may have less experience from me. And, still where they go to for questions and answers. So it's a constant kind of proving yourself that you're able to do this job, that you're equipped and competent. As far as, but it was a good experience. I was really glad to get back on the road because I'd been off the road for so long in the detective position. And then getting back on there and then being promoted to sergeant was a huge accomplishment, and I was very grateful for it. And it just gave me that well-roundedness that also helped me better prepare for the position I'm in now. And when I was, in 2018, I actually ran for sheriff and lost to the incumbent, sheriff. But I don't regret that at all. It got me out there more in the community than I already am. And I strongly believe that if I had not done that in 2018, that I more than likely would not have even been a consideration for the governor to appoint me. So that experience and the support of my community really helped me get to where I am today. So I'm grateful for that.
Wow. So what does it take? I'm hearing you say that you just kind of stepped out. Like in 2018, you just decided from sergeant to I'm ready to be the sheriff in Orleans or in Vermont. What prepared you mentally to be able to do that? Because a lot of women will say, I won't even step into the job in law enforcement, but there was something within you that said, no, not only can I do this job, I see myself in taking a more higher role. What was that pivotal point that got you there?
There was a lot of different things, but it was a lot of it had to do with my community. My community was not, if you looked at this department that I have right now compared to prior to me being appointed, it's completely different. And I know that we're going to talk about that a little bit more as the time goes on. But it was really my community saying, we're tired of this. We know that this department can be more, the deputies can be more, the sheriff's department can offer the community more. And I've always considered myself a leader in, my different roles and whatever I'm doing. And even when I was in the, assigned to the SIU, I still had a heavy role in my department and still, felt that I needed to do more, so to speak. And Newport PD was a small agency, and in small agencies, there's not a lot of room to grow. There's only so far you can go. And I really knew I had more to offer, basically, and I wanted to be that person for my community. And I'm grateful that I had support from my local law enforcement agency heads. And I just took a leap of faith in it. I'm telling you, it was terrifying. And some days it still is terrifying. But I went to a lot of my prior chief was very supportive in my aspirations and where I wanted to go. So I was able to take leadership classes at Newport, which also helped prepare me for sergeant as well, but also again helped me prepare for this job. So I've been very blessed in that area. So
Wow. You said a lot. I'm so glad that we are recording this because I'm going to go back later. My brain is going on 6 cylinders. You've talked about a support system, the community, leadership and preparation, so many different things. I know that law enforcement, it seemed like you were very passionate about law enforcement at an early age. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started and just this passion that you have?
yeah, absolutely. So when I was in like graded school, I had a few. Some of my family is law enforcement, and some of them retired from law enforcement, and so I was actually kind of discouraged to get into the profession by them. And my father served our country, and he really didn't want me going into the army or doing anything like that. And this law enforcement, I really feel and other people may differ from this because it is a career, people can choose to do this, but I really felt that I was chosen for this line of work. I've always been about helping other people. I was extremely naive when I first got into this line of work because I thought it was going to be, constantly helping people, and I got a very rude awakening. But we had an Explorer program that was in our area, and I had to wait till I was 16 to do that. But once I turned 16, I got right involved in that, and we had some wonderful mentors doing that and teaching the young people. Like we did ride-alongs, so I got to see real life what actual being a law enforcement was, and I was thankful that I had some really good law enforcement officers in those positions who taught me the right way, how to treat people, what that all looked like. And I never looked back, and I cannot imagine doing anything else. I really can't.
Wow, you're telling us a lot, especially those of us in all of these leadership roles in these different departments, how far back we need to really reach to recruit and to inspire and encourage the next generation. And you are a testament of what that looks like, especially for, Police Explorer programs and other internship programs that people may be thinking about having, with budgets and all that. You show that these Police Explorer programs and programs like that work because the product is a sheriff, and how your leadership skills really grew from that. So kudos to the Police Explorers and kudos to you for knowing the calling that you had for your life. And we hear that a lot, that people say this is a calling and that you were chosen for this. But I also heard some frustration when I asked the question about how the culture has been for you, understanding that not only were you the first in Newport, the first sheriff, but you were also the only female in your police academy. So with all of these different experiences, I'm sure that you've had and seen some cultural shifts, hopefully from when you started in 1999 to now. But go a little deeper on some of the things that occurred then and what you see now in your role, because as a police officer or even a recruit, the eyes, the perspective may be different, and what you can do now to change that is definitely different in your department. So go just a little deeper on what you've seen, some experiences, and as a sheriff, what things are you doing in your department so that they don't happen again?
So when I first started my career, it was and I actually started working on the road and responding to calls. I would have, a lot of people show up and wanting to protect, if you will. And it was really hard for me to do my job. And I don't think that there was, because there was another female that worked for my department who did not have a very good, working relationship, and it was very, very different for her. And she actually got done like within a couple weeks of me coming on, and then I was the only female in that department when I started, so it was, it took a little bit of, me having the strength to tell these people that, I am capable of doing my job and competent and I can handle myself. I appreciate the backup, but I don't need, everybody on shift coming to a citizen's assist, So that took a little bit of getting used to. And then it was, because it was an older generation of police officers, and then as younger police officers came in, that kind of changed. And they had just a different perspective of women and what that looked like. And as I grew and went to different departments, thankfully I was able to handle, they learned that I was capable and competent of responding to calls. And so if I responded to a call and somebody needed backup, there wasn't any snickering or comments about, she shouldn't be here, things of that nature, because all those little things happened. And there were definitely times in my career where I was extremely, depressed and like, do I even deserve to be here? And then I would look back at all the people that I've impacted and the cases that I've worked, and I'm like, you know what? I've done those way better than my counterparts, and I'm going to continue to work hard and be there for my community and be there for, who really need me. And overall, I've been very lucky through my career. And again, though, in Vermont, we're a very, very small state. We all go to the same academy, and there's still very, very few women. And trying to change that, I've actually just hired. When I first arrived here at the Sheriff's Department, there was no female deputies. I ended up bringing on a female detective, and then I just hired 2 more females. So now, including me, we have 3 sworn officers working for this department. And a couple of them, one in particular, she was an intern here, and she said the reason I wanted to come back and work here is because, you're a huge leader in our community. And, I watching you grow and everything that you've done in your career, like, this is something that I really want to do. So that meant a lot. And sorry, I lost track for a second.
Oh, no, that's good. Well, did you want to keep going?
I can go on forever, but we can try. Maybe I'll come back to it. Sorry.
Oh, no, you reminded me when you talked about bringing on these new females in your department and you being a trainer. One of the things that I really want to encourage people, especially women, to do is go outside of their comfort zone. And a lot of times women won't take on those, training or the range. And I've noticed that you have done and do a lot of different trainings, and I believe it's at the academy as well. Is that true?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
a lot of the females, they see you when they do come, you are the representation, you are the role model that they aspire to be. And it's really great that you're out there in the community, because women need to see more women. Little girls need to see women like you in these roles so that they understand and they can aspire to be you one day. So I just wanted to say thank you for that, for being, in these different communities. Can you tell the people like what organizations are you a part of and just how active you are? Because if they read your full bio, they would see you are very active in the community.
Yes, thank you. Hopefully I'll remember everything. I am, I've always tried to be very active in my community, and taking this role on, it has put me even, more in the limelight, so to speak, because I am in a different role than I was at the Newport Police Department, and you have to be connected to your community. My county that I cover is approximately 27 to 28,000 people. And it is really difficult sometimes to be in all these different places at once. So I'm the second vice president in our Vermont Sheriff's Association, and there's only 14 of sheriffs, because there's only 14 counties in the state of Vermont. So I take that very seriously, try to be as active as I can with that, because we're doing a lot of work as sheriffs just in the state to try to be more professional in our careers, in our departments. I'm president for our Orleans Child Advocacy Center, which is investigates our sex crimes against children and child abuse. So I took that on, and I'm on 2 different school boards within our community, which I've been on for approximately 4 or 5 years now, which is actually really good for me because it keeps me connected. All my children are adults now. I have 2 grandchildren that are going to start coming up through, but it keeps me connected. And just the role that I hold within our community, I didn't realize how powerful it was. And because when you're sitting here, you're just going through your every day-to-day kind of role and just being you. I mean, I don't really change too much when I'm in the uniform or out of the uniform. People are, I always are very welcoming to having conversations with individuals, but being in the position I am, I automatically hold a different role in these positions on the school boards. On the child advocacy board, I was asked to sit on our local hospital board as well, just to bring in different aspects, and what my personal experience has been with that agency, or just what's coming in from the community, because I have such a connection with that. I'm trying to think of what else. I just came from a Rotary meeting not too long ago. I'm the president of our Newport Rotary Club, and I've been with them for several years, and it's a great group of people, and I know that's Rotary's very active and powerful throughout the United States and as well as different countries. So that's been a lot of fun as well. So
Well, Sheriff, did you also mention the mentorship program that you're involved in?
With the going into schools, is that the one you're
Yes,
talking?
the
Yes.
secure-
The what?
Was it secure skills and experience for calling up resiliency peer mentorship program for
Oh,
Vermont?
no. I don't
You're
know.
missing a lot.
Okay,
I
sorry.
just wanted to mention that as well, because mentorship is totally important, especially for us as women. Have you heard of the 30 by 30 initiative?
I have, yes.
Are you guys involved in that as well?
Not as active as I'd like to be. I'm just trying on our local level just to get as much, our Vermont State Police is very active in that initiative. And so together and throughout the state, then yes, I'm participating in it. So.
Well, what you're saying really tells me that you are definitely part of it, whether you know it or not, because the 30 by 30 initiative, for those who may not know it, is an initiative to get more women in law enforcement, and representation is important, as you can see, as well as really being out in the community, making connections with everybody, all the community, but more importantly, letting women know that they can do this job. And you being in the academy, you being a part of these different organizations and all the community, lets people like me know how important it is that we should take the roles that we have, these leadership roles, very seriously. And it doesn't have to be assistant sheriff or chief. If you're in law enforcement, we are leaders. And so I'm challenging all of us, maybe not to do as many organizations as you are doing, Sheriff, but that we should definitely be out making connections with our community. So thank you for that. I want to pivot just a little bit, because you did talk about your grandchildren, and I know that it was very pivotal when you went to the academy, something to do with your son. Can you talk a little bit about that? Where you got a divorce? Ouch, am I telling
Thank you, sorry. Yeah. I muted myself because my radio was going off and then I couldn't. So yes, I got married at a very young age and had my son at a very young age and was not a very healthy relationship. So I ended up, thankfully, after my son was born, he gave me the strength that I needed to separate myself. And not long after that, I was accepted into the full-time police academy. And without my parents helping me care for my son while I was there, I would not be where I am today. And they have continued to help raise him and support me through all my entire 28 years going on. And without them, there's just absolutely no way I would be where I am today. No way. So I'm very, very grateful for them.
Well, we thank you and thank your parents for being very supportive. I wanted to talk a little bit about that because as women, a lot of times, again, we feel like we have to choose between having a family and having a career. And when things don't go, as planned, what does the support system look like? And so you talked a little bit about your parents being supportive for you. I too am a single mom, and I remember making friends with my daughter's friends' moms so that, I could do this job. Are there other people that are in your circle, and how did you choose them, especially when your son was at an early age?
Well, luckily I've worked for small departments and so you know everybody on them. And when I first moved up to Vermont, when my parents weren't here, I had a close coworker that would help, who had children the same age as my son, that would help work because I work nights, weekends, holidays. You know, all of us in law enforcement know that this is not a Monday through Friday job, especially when you're first starting out. So I was very grateful to have those support systems as well. My sergeants, my chief at the time were also very, sympathetic and accommodating if I needed to take time off. Again, if he was sick or something, being a single parent, you can't, there was times that I was able to have my parents help out with that, but your children just want you. So I was grateful to be able to have that time, and be afforded that time to do that. So I was appreciative of that. That is also a culture that I'm trying to build within my department as well. I think, I've definitely, what I've had to go through in the past and the struggles that I've had with raising a child and trying to have a career, because there was a point in my life where I was definitely, career driven. And I was very worried that if I didn't do this, or I didn't show up to that, or if I said I couldn't do this, then I wouldn't get what I was hoping to get out of, my position. So looking back at it, there's definitely things I would have changed. And I don't want people that work for me to ever have to decide that, if my child's sick, I need to stay home and support them. And if I don't go into work, or if I don't do this, then this is gonna be held against me. So that has been something that I've struggled with over the past my career, and I don't want anyone that works for me to ever have to worry about that. So that's definitely a change. And when people come to work for me and they come from different places, and they see that I'm like that, they're just like, they can't believe it, because it's not everywhere, that's for sure. So that is something I'm definitely working on.
I think we're definitely working on that in California as well. We're still trying to figure out the balance, especially for women who may be single or just have families, even with husbands or other spouses. And it's difficult, but it's a very rewarding job, as you can see. That you, Sheriff, are very passionate. I could hear it in your voice, the passion that you have for this profession, and we are definitely lucky to have you. Now, you said that there were about 14 or 13 other sheriffs in your county, and you mentioning that you have the voice, you are that representation in the room. Are you all able to talk about these type of issues when you come together for all the sheriffs, because they need to know these things as well, so we can spread the wealth. I always say we're in these seats and we need to just let everyone know the little things that they may not know. And so what other advice would you tell chiefs or sheriffs in regards to what you've learned now that you're in the seat to try to get more women on board?
Well, again, it's a lot of it has to do with just being supportive of what their home life may look like, because they may be single, they may have, my husband and I are both police officers. So, and we work in the same area, so if a major incident comes in, or, he's gotta work overtime, I've gotta work overtime, then we have to decide, who's taking care of our kids, now who's taking care of our grandkids, things of that nature. And, again, when I first started my career, there was a lot of snide remarks about different, things, and worked very hard to change that, not being accepting of that, holding people accountable for it. Because I feel, and I think that even today, it's still a struggle, especially for women and young women coming into this line of work, they feel, or may feel like they have to prove something, or be one of the guys to fit in, so they may talk a certain way, or I'm trying to say this correctly, may take more than, or put up with more than they really want to, than what their morals really are telling them to take, to put up with, because they're fearful of, not being chosen, or not being, fearful of losing their jobs even. There was definitely times where I didn't speak up with certain behaviors that were going on, because I was worried that it was gonna get turned around on me, and then I was gonna be out of my career, and I love this profession. I think a lot of that has gotten much, much better. It is not tolerated as much as it was when I first started my career, for sure, but still recognizing it, and making sure that that people are held accountable, that they are supported. And also knowing that, having different shifts available for different people, and we can't just be partial to one person against another, but being sympathetic to what that situation is. And if it's a long-term or a short-term, just trying to work with people. But I don't know, I think I could probably say a lot more, but I'm just trying not to dive too much into the weeds.
No, I agree with everything you're saying, and I'm also thinking like policies and procedures, because as you know, a lot of people, whether they're women or other marginalized communities, will not speak up because they don't want to be outed, they don't want to be singled out, or felt like want people to feel sorry for them, or shame or guilt. And so the policies that we have in place, the policies and procedures really help, when it's no retaliation, the whistleblowers and those type of things help, so that when we do have women or people of color or other, communities coming into our departments, they should know that those type of behaviors will not be tolerated. And I love the word you said, accountability. We are holding ourselves and others accountable for what we're saying and what we're doing. And that's the true mark of a leader. So thank you for that as well. So for those who may be on the call, in regards to chiefs and sheriffs and these high, leadership positions, really think about what the sheriff is saying about people coming over who just want to work. And if we allow the jokes and, the little things that people do to be funny to really permeate our departments, it really can have a negative effect on people who we want to retain in our department. So just keep that in mind as we keep talking in regards to women in law enforcement. So with that, Sheriff, there may be others on the call who want to promote up to be sheriff. And you've talked a lot about you have gone to leadership trainings. Are there any other advice that you could give to other women and allies if they want to promote up to be a sheriff or a chief one day?
Yes, absolutely. So, when I went back to school, at that point in time, I'd already gotten a degree, but focused more on a psychology degree, because I was all about domestic violence and child abuse and things of that nature. And I really wish I had done something in business, because there's a lot of administrative things that go along with this job. And I'm very grateful for the staff that I have, who have taught me and continue to teach me every day. But that is one thing, and I still may do it, I still have a ways to go before I even consider retiring, so that might be something I continue to do. But I'm very big into, I always want to make myself better. And I'm very, into training, and I allow my people to go to training that, whatever is relevant to what we're doing and what our mission is. But it's really, at least in my community, because we're so small, being connected with my community because I'm an elected official. Having the training that I have, I'm active on social media, I put out letters in the papers, keeping people up to date of what's going on. People are welcome, and I have a lot of people that stop in here, into the department and just want to chat with me or talk to me about different things that are going on. But continuing my education, constantly learning, I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong. If I make a mistake, I, admit it. I'm a human being. But I think that being allowed to go to these leadership trainings and just continuing to learn and take little bits and pieces from people and make myself better is what is what my goal is. And but again, getting that education, starting from, if you asked me 10 years ago if I'd be where I am today, I would have told you no. I'm happy being a detective, and I'm going to continue to do that for as long as I can, successfully do that. But it's just, knowing what your worth is and never giving up. And there's been days where I've sat in this chair and I said, you know what, I could have just stayed at the Newport PD and been a sergeant, and I could have been fine and happy doing that. But I've really been happy because I know, and I know right now sitting in this chair that I have more to give. And when I get discouraged, for whatever reason that might be, I just, take a deep breath, and I just know that if I was not able to do this job, if somebody told me right now that you can no longer be a police officer, you can no longer be the sheriff, then I know that I've made a difference in people's lives. And I will continue until my last breath is taken. I will continue to help people and serve my community in whatever fashion that might be, but yeah, I'm not sure if I answered that exactly the way you wanted, but
Oh,
it's,
no.
Yeah.
This is exactly how you have it. We are learning so much. I'm just so happy all of these are being recorded. Each of you have just really imparted nuggets for us to go back on. I'm telling you, my brain is just shooting right now. I'm like, I could pick this and this and this and talk so much about these different topics with you. I really appreciate it. I also forgot to tell people though, they also can ask questions. Please put any questions that you have in the chat box for Sheriff Harlow, so that at the end of this, we will definitely answer some of your questions. Now, Sheriff Harlow, thank you for that answer in regards to how to prepare ourselves for the next level. What about those women who say to themselves, I can't do it because who knows? I'm too small, I'm too tall, I'm this, I'm that. For women, it seems like we have all of these ways of getting in our own heads to stop us from reaching our dreams. What can you offer for them, a quote or some advice to these women who would make great deputy sheriffs and great officers coming on board to your department? What would you tell them if you were at a recruiting event?
Well, I often, with the young women that come into my office for an application, and they often ask me like, how did you get where you are? What, I don't know if I can do this. I'm like, you can do whatever you set your mind to doing. And again, I've always been very strong-willed. So if somebody tells me I can't do something, I work 1,000 times harder to make sure that I do it, and I, go above and beyond. So, yeah, I mean, when I go into schools or I go down to the academy, and then, they're just, at that point in time, they're very gung ho and they're ready to do this job, and they're like, but it took me a long time to get here. And, it really is, thankfully, things have changed quite a bit. We still have a long ways to go, but we are, especially women that I've had the pleasure of working with in law enforcement, we're so much better at things. And not to say that the male counterparts are not good. We all have our niches, right? And if you can work together cohesively as a department, you each take it, your own little thing that you're really, really good at, and then you just grow and aspire to that. And, you know, that's something that I was lucky and able to do, like the sex crimes, that was really my niche, in investigating domestic violence. And I'm grateful that I was allowed to do that. There's other females that I've worked with that really like the drug work, and, you know, they've kept with it and kept with it, and that's not a normal role for women in law enforcement, at least in my area. And I've had people, you know, women who retired as lieutenants and captains in the drug divisions. So it's just really, you know, keeping a strong mind, and we have to be there for each other. And unfortunately, sometimes women can be the worst to each other, and it's really, I've experienced that in the past, and it's just trying to be there. And we have to support each other, and we have to be our biggest fans. And
Sheriff Harlow, I think you should say that again, because it's so true. We've talked about it on a different Transformational Tuesday, but you know, women can be very catty and not supportive of one another. And we've talked about how in this field, there's a lot of times where there may only be an opportunity for one, you know, one seat. We'll choose one female. And there's so many incredibly gifted females, but because we know in our minds that they're only going to choose one of us, then it seems like at times that we compete against it's competition, but we compete in a way that's so negative with one another instead of holding each other up and supporting one another. As you've talked about, support systems are so important, especially for us in these male dominated careers. So I really appreciate you saying that as well. It's like we need to start being more supportive of one another as women, as we are promoting up the ranks or taking these other type of jobs, you know, these other type of assignments.
yeah,
You know, being in training, doing all these different trainings is awesome. Were you going to say something, Sheriff Harlow?
no, I was just agreeing with you. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. So here's a quote for you. Be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I say that quote because you mentioned how you were able to do some of these other different assignments that normally women don't, you know, take, like a range or a DV or, you know, homicide. We at times feel uncomfortable in taking these more male dominated in our mind positions or assignments. But I say be comfortable with being uncomfortable, meaning take the leap, like you said, take the leap of faith, do something different so that you can be more well-rounded as you promote up, or even if you don't promote, you'll be just a more well-rounded law enforcement officer. So can you just speak on the quote, being comfortable with being uncomfortable?
Yes. So yeah, I feel like that is me way more than I'd like to admit, for sure. So, but that is, I mean, it is a great quote, and I feel like that's just, again, just challenging yourself. And if you are comfortable all the time, like, what is the challenge there? How are you gonna become better if you don't challenge yourself to do something that's not comfortable, right? And I tell that to all my staff as well. I challenge them. You know, well, I don't know if I can do that. Yes, you can do that. And here are the tools to make you so that you can do it. You know, public speaking. You know, a lot of people have a really difficult time with that. And at one point in my time, I did as well, but I do it so much that it's just, you know, kind of second nature. But it's still uncomfortable depending on what crowd you're in front of, who your audience is, what topics you're talking about. But people really, when you take on that challenge and you challenge yourself, people really recognize that, and they just stand up and they support you. I mean, being sheriff a lot is uncomfortable, because sometimes I really have to kind of refrain myself sometimes when I'm talking about different topics, because I have to be mindful of who my audience is. We have, a lot of laws that are put on, what we can discuss, what we can't discuss for certain things, our different policies that are statewide, and whether or not I personally agree with them, I have to support my staff and my community with things that are put on us to abide. And so there's a lot of things that I'm not comfortable with. But just, again, teaching yourself, making sure that you're educated on what's going on. And again, just challenging yourself. I mean, I don't know how else to say that, but I think it's just like you said, you need to be comfortable with uncomfortable. So you need to constantly put yourself up to that challenge. And again, I think if you're too comfortable all the time, then you're not really challenging yourself to be better.
That's it right there, period. We have to challenge ourselves to be better. Always challenging. My daughter right now, she's about to be 23, and I don't know how that happened, but I also always tell her to just challenge herself, like, don't be complacent. There's so much life, so much to do, so much to be. And if we just sit on our laurels, we'll never learn anymore. We won't grow, and we won't get to the place that we need to get to. Earlier on, you said something that made me think of some little quote that says, if you want to grow, sometimes you have to go. Meaning you went to, started at Newport Police Department, and you said that you had to go somewhere else to become the sheriff. At times for us as women, we may get complacent with, or comfortable with being in one particular spot, when actually where we're supposed to be is somewhere else, learning in one area, learning the skills that we need and taking those with us somewhere else. So I just want to encourage anyone on this call, to think about that at times, to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and understanding that at times, if you want to grow, you may have to go and embark. Is that a true statement, Sheriff Harlow?
That is absolutely very true.
Awesome. With that, I want to ask a little bit about succession planning, because as we're growing and going, we have to prepare the next person who's going to take our seat. So what does succession planning look like in your department, or what can you suggest for some of us who need to prepare for the next person who's going to take our seat?
So I try to do that with quite a few of my staff, because as I mentioned, we should all be leaders. And what that looks like might be different for different people, but again, we should all be, leaders within our own self. And so if I see somebody, or somebody comes to me and says, this is what I want to do, this is the role, or I see something in them that maybe they don't see and they just need a little urging, or a little pushing, then I send them to trainings that kind of put them not in their comfort zone, takes them out of it a little bit, but we'll start preparing them. Public speaking is a huge thing, getting out in the community, being able to talk with people, going and having a coffee with somebody, going and walking the beat, interacting with people. And so there's a few people here that I can definitely see taking over my position. It's an elected position, so there's gonna be a lot of work that needs to be done as far as, getting out into the different areas of the public and, government and things of that nature to be known. But now's a good time to start that. So when I bring them to different trainings with me, so if I have executive trainings and I'm allowed to bring somebody else from my department, I'm bringing different people so they start seeing what this is all about. And so that they can also start mentally preparing themselves for goals and where they want to see themselves in 5-10 years. But
I like that. It's like an executive ride along.
Yes.
Taking them to the different meetings and showing them around. I love that. And, we can do that on any level, right? Our police officers can do that for anybody that wants to be a police officer, and our lieutenants can do it for the sheriffs. I mean, the sergeants.
Yep.
making that effort. And I know it's time consuming because who has time? But if we want our departments to be better than what they are, and we know that they can improve, then we do have to prepare the next generation and take that time to do that as we move forward. I had a question in my mind and it popped and it just came back. Work-life balance. We talked about your family and what do you do for work-life balance?
Well, I'm not always great at that. I'll be completely honest. Hold on.
See, that's the life of a sheriff. That means you just get me for a minute. So it's okay. So I'll tell you a little bit about my daughter. She's 22. She's amazing. And she is very supportive of her mother. Sheriff Harlow, I was just talking to the people while you left. Is everything okay? Uh-oh, are you muted?
Thank you. Oh, yes, everything's okay. I had to, one of my staff was, asking me a question. Somebody's at the door, but we're fine. And I have my dog with me today because I had to just put my older dog down, unfortunately, so I brought her to work with me today, so she wouldn't be alone. But she is one of what helps me is my dog. I really enjoy being outdoors. I have a couple horses, I have chickens, which I just love being out there in the barn and just, cleaning out stalls, brushing my horses, taking walks with my dogs. I have 2 grandchildren who I absolutely am obsessed with and spend every minute I possibly can with them. They're so much fun. But really just being outside is really what grounds me and brings me back. I don't need to go on, like fancy vacations or anything like that. Which some people, I'm glad that they're able to do, but just like spending time around my home and just being out in nature is really what brings me back and helps me.
That's funny you say that because, for work-life balance, I'm thinking of a lot of different things. Chickens was not one of them, but everyone needs something to center them. We talk about that even as, officers, we just more work-life balance. And yes, we could all do better at work-life balance, making sure that we are physically fit as well as mentally and spiritually and financially fit, a well-rounded leaders. Because as you can see, especially with Sheriff Harlow, she is involved with a lot of different organizations. She's involved with the animals, her family, the job. So it can't be easy. All right. So for me, my last question then will be your inspiration, possibly my last, your inspiration. Again, you talked about you wanted to be a law enforcement officer at such a young age. How do you feel, or what does your family feel about you being the sheriff? How are you inspiring the next generation of little girls, not just the young people, but I'm saying the little girls? What are you doing to connect with them on your level?
Well, I do my family is very proud of where I am, and I'm very grateful for that. My son is very proud that, I've come this far in my career, which is very humbling. Um, and my littlest grandson wants to be a police officer already, so, we'll see where that goes. As far as, little girls and just being that inspiration, I get asked to go to a lot of schools, and speak about where I've been, what I do for my career. I'm grateful to have that opportunity to be out in the community and to have that, sorry, I'm looking for the right word. Just to have that connection and have that, respect from people. And when young girls, especially, because I'm looking at, lower, upper grade level, middle school is when they really start to come and ask you questions, and it's really humbling when they come and they think so much of you, because, you know, I'm just a regular person and I just go and do my job, and the effect that I've had on people. And so I investigated sex crimes for a long time. And when you have a young person that you know, had an investigation with, and now they are pursuing criminal justice, and they want to be a law enforcement officer, they want to be a prosecutor because of the effect that you had on them. Just, you know, what makes it all worthwhile. And even when you don't think you're making an impression on somebody, you are. Because all the little things that people come and tell me, I'm like, I would have never even thought about that. Just the little thing, just being there, just listening to them, and just being the role that I have and the respect that I have for my community, and how people come and, you know, look for my, you know, my experience and things like that. I just didn't think would make that big of a difference, and it does. So it's huge. Super
Wow.
powerful.
You've just said so much in that one little statement. People look at us when we wear our uniforms, and we are representing ourselves whether we know it or not. We're representing our departments and ourselves, and people are constantly looking at us. And that's a great reminder for us, whether you are a sheriff or a chief, deputy, or an officer. When you wear the uniform, let us make a difference. We are making a difference just by being present and being there for those who need us. So I really thank you for that. That's a good reminder for us when we wear these uniforms to go out there and make a difference. And like you said, they're not asking for much. It's just our presence and what they see of us tells them the whole story. So that is perfect for ending this today. With that, Sheriff Harlow, I'm going to ask you for final comments. I'm sure we have not touched on everything that we could have talked about, but please, you have some final words for us?
I just am really honored that you contacted me and that I was able to be a part of this, and the other speakers that you have, I have a tremendous amount of respect for. And I just thank you.
Thank you. I really thank you for saying yes, because you are very busy, and as a lot of chiefs and sheriffs are, I want to give a shout out also to Chief Lisa French, because she's been on every Tuesday, and I know how busy she is as well. You phenomenal, mighty women are so important to people like me. And I just appreciate you taking the time to be part of our Transformational Tuesday. I have been inspired today as well as every Tuesday. I'm feasting, as I say to people, and I encourage everyone to come back. Next Tuesday is our last Transformational Tuesday. We'll have a sheriff or chief Cheryl Victorian will be our last speaker for next Tuesday. So please come back for that. But with that, Sheriff Harlow, I just want to say thank you so much for being on Transformational Tuesday, and you have an amazing day.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you. Everyone be safe.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.